Ever feel, well, stuck? Like you're trapped in the cycle of just refining the same old idea, always feeling this pressure to have the perfect answer? Today, we're going to dive into a method designed to break you free and get back to genuine exploration. We're talking about the Curiosity Sprint. So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start by talking about something called the expert's trap. Then, we'll get into the cool neuroscience behind how your brain literally makes maps of the world. After that, we'll lay out the rules of unknowing, walk you through running your own sprint, and then wrap things up by looking at this big tug of war between curiosity and authority.
Okay, first things first. Let's really get a handle on the problem this sprint is designed to solve. It's called the expert's trap, and it's all about that moment when the pressure to perform completely crushes our natural desire to just explore.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. We're all under this constant pressure to be the expert in the room, to have all the answers, to perform perfectly. Somewhere along the line, saying, I don't know, started to feel like a failure. But you know what? That fear is exactly what keeps us from any real discovery.
And this pressure, it leads directly to what's called the authority trap. This is a state where we find ourselves talking about things instead of actually touching them. It's when the need to be right, to protect our status, totally stifles any real exploration, learning, or creativity. We get caught polishing a presentation instead of running a messy, quick experiment that could actually teach us something.
But here's the really cool part. Our brains are actually hardwired to fight against this trap. So let's take a look at the neuroscience of why curiosity is so incredibly important. You see, neurologically speaking, your brain treats curiosity and standard reward seeking as two totally different things. Standard reward seeking, that's all driven by an immediate payoff, something external, like food or money. Your brain anticipates a tangible reward, but curiosity is different. It's driven by desire for information, even when that information has no obvious immediate use. Your brain actually gets a hit of a reward just from solving uncertainty. It's a completely different pathway.
And this powerful drive for information allows our brains to build something incredible called cognitive maps. Think of these as super detailed mental blueprints of how different things in the world are connected. These maps are what allow us to be flexible, to adapt when things suddenly change, which is something basic reward and punishment learning just can't do.
So, here's the key takeaway. Curiosity isn't just a fleeting feeling. It's the actual engine that drives what's called latent learning. That's the process of building those cognitive maps, even when there's no cookie at the end. It's this fundamental drive that helps us truly understand our world. And that is the bedrock of all creativity. Okay, so we know why this matters to our brains. Now let's get practical and talk about the tool designed to harness this power. We're going to define the curiosity sprint by looking at what are called the rules of unknowing. This right here is the single most important thing to get. I'm going to say it just like it is on the screen. A curiosity sprint is not designed to produce a result. It is designed to produce information. If you happen to get a useful outcome, hey, that's a great bonus, but it is absolutely not the goal. The goal is learning. And for a sprint to actually work, these 5 constraints are completely non-negotiable. First, it has to be time-boxed, say 30 or 90 minutes. Second, it's got to be low stakes, zero pressure to perform. Third, there is no requirement to ship anything. This is not for an audience. Fourth, you have no obligation to justify the effort to anyone. And finally, you don't convert what you've learned into authority language. The second any of these rules get broken, curiosity just collapses right back into performance mode. All right, so how do you actually do one of these things? It's a pretty simple 5-stage process that's really just designed to get you exploring as quickly as possible. Okay, here are the 5 stages. 1. You start with a curiosity trigger, which is just an unfinished thought. 2. You narrow the aperture, picking one tiny thing to look at. 3. You run some wandering experiments. These are quick, low-effort tests. 4. You capture signals, meaning you just record observations, not conclusions. And 5. You make an optional transition decision, deciding what, if anything, you want to do next with no justification needed. Let's really focus on that critical first step, the trigger. This isn't a goal or a plan. It's an unfinished thought. The best ones almost always start with one of 3 phrases. What would happen if? I wonder what changes if? Or what does this look like when? So let's make this really concrete with some examples, let's say for a photographer. Using that first prompt, what would happen if? 1. What if I intentionally set my white balance to the exact opposite of the current lighting conditions? 2. What if I shot entirely from waist level without ever looking at the camera screen or viewfinder? 3.
What if I use the slowest possible shutter speed while continually walking forward? Or 4, what would happen if I overexposed every single image by 4 stops? Or we can use the next one. I wonder what changes if. 5, what changes if I only allow myself to photograph the negative space around my subjects instead of the subjects themselves? 6, what changes if I restrict myself to only photographing objects that are a specific color, like red? Or 7, I wonder what changes if I only photograph shadows and never the objects casting them. And finally, using what does this look like when 8, what does it look like when I shoot everything through a physical, semi-transparent object, maybe like a glass of water or a plastic bag? 9, what does it look like when I place my only light source completely behind the subject, aiming directly into the lens? Or 10, what does it look like when I intentionally misfocus on every single shot? You get the idea. With any of these triggers, the only objective is to see what happens and gather new information. There's no audience. The whole mindset boils down to this: messiness is acceptable, polishing is forbidden. And this all brings us to the core conflict, the fundamental choice that this entire process is designed to help you manage. It's about choosing how you want to move forward. If you can explain it clearly but haven't touched it, that's authority. If you've touched it but can't explain it yet, that's curiosity. One is all about performing what you already know. The other is about being in the messy process of actually learning something new. In the end, it really is this simple. Authority makes us sound smart. Curiosity makes us move. One of them keeps us feeling safe, but we stay stuck. The other pushes us into the unknown. And that's where the real breakthroughs always happen. So, as we wrap up this explainer on the curiosity sprint, there's really only one thing left to ask, and it's the question right here on the screen. So I'll leave you with this. What's one messy experiment you can run in the next 30 minutes?